Big Dan's Airgun Review channel. Today we're carrying on with our budget series of rifles. We had a little bit of a break with the Kral Puncher Pro 500, which was a lovely gun, but let's be fair, while it was a more budget oriented PCP, those things can go up to £2,000, £3,000 depending on which one you go for. It's not really, it still eclipses the price of the other guns we've looked at, like say the Remington Sabre, the PR 900 and things like that. But we're back down to earth today with a proper budget spring gun. Now budget doesn't always mean bad, or at least most of the time it doesn't. So let's see what the Milbro Explorer does, and let's see what category it fits under. Is it made to a price, cheap and a bit crap, or is it a genuine budget bargain? So let's move on to features and find out. So then, features, what do you get with the Milbro Explorer? Well, as always, we start off at the rear of the rifle, and you can see here you've got a nicely finished rubber recoil pad. It's not ventilated, but it certainly does the job. Slightly further along, we've got a Sporter style ambidextrous stock, which is also, as in the name, you can tell a lefty and a righty can use the thing in some pretty good comfort, but we'll maybe talk a bit more about that when we get to the handling section of the review. What I didn't expect, because as you can tell this is a synthetic stock, some love them, some hate them. They're supposedly a bit tougher than a wooden stock, but I don't really like bashing either one, if I'm honest. But it's got a nice bit of like checkering. I know it's not like putting it into wood, but it's got a nice bit of checkering on the grip here, which is genuinely really deep, and it does feel quite nice. It gives the gun a more premium feel. But moving on a bit further, but this is the really interesting part with this gun, and I do apologise if you can't see that because of the lighting, but that is a proper, or at least it does its best imitation of a proper two-stage trigger, but that is a proper two-stage unit, and it's not just adjustable for pull weight and that's pretty much it. It's actually adjustable for pull weight, length of pull, pretty much you name it, like an actual big brand trigger. It's a really nice looking and nicely spec'd unit, but again we'll mention more about that when we get to the handling section of this review. You can see you've got your safety toggle there. That is not an automatic safety, it's a manual, like switchable, flickable toggle, but it's in the right place, which you know I'm a big fan of. That there, it's nice and easy to get to, but again we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the handling section. Up top we've got the dovetail rail, but the rifle also comes with a weaver mount, which again, if you're into that sort of thing, you're going to absolutely love that. And it's a fairly nicely made unit as well. It is a proper metal, sort of scratching it there, it's a proper metal unit, which is really nice. Moving on a little further, you can see we've got even more checkering here, which once again is just as deep as on the grip, which is always nice to have. And as we move further along, the rifle does come with fibre optic sights as standard. You can see hopefully you can see the green sights there and the orange sight on the foresight there glowing up as well. It's a nicely spec'd gun. As we move slightly further along, you can also see we finish off with this barrel shroud / cocking aid. Does a silencer really make a massive difference on a Springer? Well, yeah, it depends on who you speak to, I think. But in general, I think we can all agree that for, as I said, a budget gun, it's spec'd pretty damn well, if we're being honest. The only thing that I will mention here, it's not really a feature, but it definitely needs mentioning, is that it is a hell of a long rifle. This is on the narrowest view setting, not narrow, sorry, this is on the best view setting for these reviews, and this is with the camera dead center, and I'm leaning pretty far back right now, and you're still not getting the whole thing in the camera. It's sort of, when you put the camera here like this, it reminds me of that sci-fi program Red Dwarf, and the opening shots, and you see the camera slides along the spaceship like this, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. It is very much like that, but you know, some people, they like longer guns and such. I'm a big fan of the Webley Eclipse and things like that, and as I showed you before, that thing is pretty humongous. So again, if you're into that sort of thing, if you're maybe slightly bigger chap, it might not bother you too much. But what I will say is that if you're getting one of these and you want a rifle case for it, make sure that you maybe put it in the case first. A lot of the standard size rifle slips, like the ones you see that are badged Remington, SMK, all that sort of thing, this won't fit in it. You'll find that your butt is hanging out just a little bit, and it's never good etiquette when you're around the gun range when you've got your butt on show. But again, some people, you never know, they might look at that and they might want to have a little play with your butt when they see what's poking out the back there. You never quite know, do you? Not these days. So yeah, that's it for features of the Milbro Explorer. So next up, let's see how heavy this thing is. So let's get the scales out and let's see what pops up. So we got it on the scales and she's coming out at 8 pounds and 6 ounces. So it's definitely up there when it comes to weight. Might be worth considering, as we said, it's a big gun anyway, so it may be worth considering if you are thinking of getting one of these. But we now know the weight of the thing, but as we always say, what it comes out at the scales can sometimes be meaningless depending on how it's balanced, because you'll see that even heavy guns, if balanced correctly, can actually feel much lighter than what they actually, well, really are. So let's put it to the shoulder and let's see what we think. Let's chuck a scope on there as well so we can see what it actually looks like when she's all scoped up. So let's move on. So then, handling. What's the big old brute like when you put it to the shoulder? Well, you may be able to see I've actually had to change the lens setting on the camera. So as you can actually hopefully see the whole thing, but even if you can't, well, I wouldn't be surprised, I'll put it that way. Now you can sort of see when it's in the hand just how long this thing is. I do think with the scope on top though, it's a really quite a nice looking gun. It's not, well, it is a cheaper end gun. It's not exactly walnut going through there, but it's quite it's a sinister looking brute, if I'm honest. The only thing that, as I'm sure you'll probably know I'm going to mention, is maybe this is a bit, I don't know, it's plastic, do you know what I mean? It does its job, I'm sure. We'll soon find out when we fire the thing, and it is pretty good for a cocking aid, but you just give it a slap like that. But yeah, maybe if that weren't there, or maybe if there's a little barrel weight on the end would have been nicer. But anyways, let's break it. That was absolute child's play. I'm also happy to report. To be fair though, the length of the barrel, I'd be very disappointed if it wasn't. I say child's play, you'd probably actually need 2 children to shoot this. You'd need one to hold the thing steady back here while the other one pulled the barrel down. It's pretty big. But let's see how it balances when we actually raise it and put it to the shoulder. And, you know, that's actually really good. The weight is about... Let's see, can I hold that steady about there? Let's have a look. There you go, yeah. Weight is pretty much bang on where this rear part of the checkering is here on the forestock. It's pretty much bang on there, which... Yeah, it's more or less where I'd want it to be. With spring guns, you know, my particular taste is I do prefer maybe weight a little bit more forwards, like the HW97s and such. I'm more used to things like that, but I can hold that really quite still. In fact, no one's going to believe me what I'm about to say, but I personally can hold this more still than the Punch Pro, what we shot the other day. Maybe it's more because I'm used to springers, and it does feel so nice to be back to springers as well, I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's because I'm more used to springers, but it shoulders and comes to the shoulder really nicely. So let's have a go. We've loaded it, let's have a go at that safety. That's pretty good too. Again, you know, we get a little bit touchy over this at times, maybe the safeties, but it's a basic unit. A lot of the cheaper guns use this, but if I'm being honest, it's actually one of my favourite units, as I've said a lot, because it's easy to get to, easy to flick on and off, and this one has got a very, how can I put it? I know it sounds like a negative, but a pleasantly clunky feel to it. It's got a very sturdy, hang on, just listen, if you can hear this. It's got a really nice feel to it. Let's have a go at that trigger. Let's have a go, right, so let's give it a squeeze. It's pretty damn good, if I'm honest. For a serious budget rifle, that is really quite nice. Now this has not been tampered with, this is out the box now. In fact, this scope is not even zeroed, so it's a good job we've got all those logs back there as a backstop, because I've got no idea where that went. I don't even know why I aimed, if I'm honest. But no, that trigger is actually really nice. Now, what I will say, break it down again, what I will say is the reach to the trigger is a little far maybe. Like, as you can see, that's my index finger outstretched there, and you can see it's maybe a little far. You can reach it obviously, but I don't know, maybe if it was set back there it would have been absolutely perfect instead of forwards like that. But it's not bad, as you can see there. Hopefully you can see the second stage there, my trigger, or my finger around the trigger bouncing off of it there. There's a tiny little bit of creep at the moment. See if I can rest it on it here, if I can get it, make sure we're not pointing into a piece of wood. If I can show you it on camera. See, here we're at the second stage, but if I give it a little bit more of a pull, hopefully you could see that. There's a tiny little bit of creep, and then off she goes. I hit something when I wasn't aiming. I should do it for more often, might actually get better results. But yeah, there's a tiny little bit of creep before the second stage and at the point when it lets off. But I've got to be honest, it's a smooth criminal. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I love the XS19. It's one of my favourite brake barrels that we actually stock, because it is just a good, honest, accurate little brake barrel. But the thing that lets them down, and a lot of rifles on the market use the same trigger unit, is the trigger unit, although it's advertised as a 2-stage, it does its job, but it's not as slick as this, I'll put it that way. And this is no, I'm not giving away how much this actually is, but it's not as slick as the unit on here, and the fact that you can adjust it both ways, like you can a seriously expensive trigger, you can adjust pull weight and actual length of pull at the same time. It's phenomenal, it really is. Out the box, it's quite nice. There's just that little bit of creep there, but with some tuning on this, you might be able to stop that, if I'm honest, if we gave it a tweak. Let's just give it another go. So you can see here, hopefully you can see that, I'm on second stage. Creep. You can see there's a little bit of creep there to about there. There's a little bit of movement there. But to be honest, it's nice. Well, not that the creep is good, but it's predictable creep, if that makes sense. It's not like something where you don't quite know when the gun's going to go off. The other thing that's nice, and again, I don't mean to keep picking on other guns' triggers, is that, as you saw there, I could bounce off that second stage all day long. Some of the cheaper guns, like the XS19, you'll find that, I don't know if any people who have the guns will agree with this, or if you've noticed this yourself yet, if you pull the trigger and then let off, you'll feel that weight that was there is now gone. And the XS19, you can almost get it to a point where if you pull it almost to the point where it's going to break and then ease off, it's almost like a hair trigger. There, it's just as light as anything, until you fire and then the weight resets itself. Whereas this, you could see I was bouncing like that and the pull weight was the exact same. That second stage was stopping it from going off. But in general, it's a nice gun. It's a really nice gun. I'll have another go. It shoulders well. Like I said, there is the length there. Hopefully, with this different lens setting, you can see the entirety of the thing. It's a long gun. If you're someone a bit petite, or say a youngster looking after a cheaper end gun to start with, it might be a bit too big for you. The weight, it is heavy. There's 8 pounds there, but it's well balanced, so it doesn't actually feel as heavy as it says it is. Let's give it another squeeze. You see there's the creep. Hit something. There's also very little twang, which is quite nice. It's just more of a solid when you pull the trigger. Again, it might be because there's a fair bit of grease in here at the moment, maybe, which has got to burn off. This is pretty much as mentioned an out-the-box example, but there's very, very little twang at the minute. Let's just have one more shot just to take, so I can give some input on how you can expect this thing to recoil. So, let's have a go. There's a little piece of wood down there, see if we can see where it's going. Yeah, there's the recoils. It's on the light side. It's not completely soft. You can see this is the 2.2, and I'm sure you can see in the video there is a little when you pull the trigger back. It's mainly vertical though, which is always nice, because you get a few guns out there like we haven't reviewed it yet, but we've had a few of the Remington Warhawks in, and I find with me at least they tend to jar to the left, jump to the left a bit, which I'm not a huge fan of. But this is mainly, I don't know if you can see this or not, I don't suppose you can. Yeah, it's just up and down, which is pretty damn good, to be honest. So yeah, recoil is manageable, but again, we'll see more of that maybe when it comes to the accuracy section of the review. This is just literally how it feels at the moment. It's not harsh, but it's not the softest on the planet either. The main impressive thing at the moment, but again, as I said, we've got to be fair, it could be because of the sheer amount of grease in there at the moment, is there's very little twang. In fact, it's quite a... I'll shut my mouth now so you can actually hear the thing. But it's quite a quiet action, quiet gun, to be honest. Hang on, let me just shut my mouth. I'll put it as close to the camera as I can. It almost sounds gas ram-ish, sort of thing, and I guarantee you there's a spring in there. But overall, to be honest, handling-wise, colour me impressed. That's quite nice. The checkering, again, I know it's not wood, but the checkering is quite nice. You're not going to be losing your grip with that at any stage. In fact, if you can see that, look into my hands, you can see there's almost like a checkering grip going into my fingers now. Makes me look classier, I'm sure. Rub it across my face, see what the ladies think. But no, it's a nice gun, to be honest with you. Seriously nice gun. Shoulders pretty well. Seems to shoot nice. It's quiet. I'm a big fan of the safety that comes with it. Again, not automatic, so you got to remember to switch that on and off when you're before you take your shot, shall we say. But overall, it's a nice gun. Again, only drawback so far is that maybe the length could be off-putting to some, and the trigger is a little bit of a reach, even with my long fingers. But well impressed, especially the trigger itself and how adjustable that is. But that's it for handling, so dragging that out any further. Now let's move on to chronograph session. Now obviously this is not a PCP, so I will not be here testing for shot counts and such, otherwise I'd be here for, well, bloody years I'd imagine. But let's do, as we've been doing lately with the spring guns, let's do a 20 shot string, again, that's talking about spring guns. Let's do a 20 shot string, and let's see what the Milbro Explorer can do through the chronograph. So let's move on to that, and then it comes to the accuracy section, which I'm very much looking forward to with this. It's good to be back to springers. Let's get the chrono out. Okay then, so chronograph time. Our contestant, or victim, is ready. The pellets we're going to be using are the HN Remington Field Target Trophy pellets, which come in at 14.66 grain. Here's the Caldwell chronograph. You can see the phone is plugged in at the moment, and you can see our stand for the camera is staring straight at it. So you'll hopefully be able to see the feet pounds and foot per second that the rifle's doing shot per shot, in a sort of live update kind of way. We're going to be looking for power and consistency as we test the rifle, and as mentioned, we're going to be doing a 20 shot string. So let's get the rifle all prepped and ready and get our stand all sorted out, because it's a little bit wonky at the minute, and let's see what the rifle can do 20 shots through the chrono. Okay, so chronograph results, what do we think? Well, as we said, this is very much so an out-of-the-box gun, but if we take a look, you can see here the spread is 30 FPS over 20 shots, which in itself is not great. However, I think that's more to do with grease being shoved around inside of there more than anything else, and my reasoning behind this is if you look at the first few shots. You've got 1010, 1006, 1039, and then we had our low shot, where you see here 956, 935. However, as we scroll on, you can see the low shots are getting closer and closer. You see there 968, 988. It's getting closer and closer to meeting the high shots, and here you have here 971, 996, and then one more time you've got 996. So it's almost as if, I'm not sure if it's, again, grease moving, burning, or what's happening, but it's almost as though the low shots are coming and catching up to the high shots. As we said, and as most people know, spring guns and such, when you get them out, there's definitely a wearing in and letting in period. The power tends to increase and then settle back just ever so slightly. And I think we're definitely on the power increase section here at the minute. You can see here 19th shot gets up to around 10.4 foot-pound with the Remington Thunder HN Field Target Trophy pellets. In my experience, the JSPs do tend to fly a bit quicker than the HNs do. Whether that's due to their construction, whether they're just a bit, I think it's just because they're a bit more slick to load these. There's a little bit of resistance in the breech. But with them, you're probably, this is guessing, admittedly, but you're probably going to be looking at around, say, 10.7 with those, something like that. If I'm being honest, with my spring guns, there's people out there, don't get me wrong, if you want as close to 12 foot-pounds as you can get, obviously keeping it legal here in the UK without the need of an FAC certificate, that's more power to you. Me personally, I prefer my spring guns to settle at around the 10.5 foot-pound range. It's like my XS19, that's why I love that so much, is that it is sitting, it is pretty much bang on. I think it's 10.3 to 10.5, and that's pretty much it throughout the entire shot string. It just makes them a little bit more comfortable to shoot. They recoil that bit less, and the difference, depending on pellet, between 10.5 and 11.5 foot-pound is only around 20 to 25 FPS. There's next to nothing in it. But in my experience, it's better just to have, maybe, like I say, not quite going the full Monty, keeping it reserved, keep it back just a little bit, and it makes it more comfortable to shoot. That being said, with this, the power is definitely going to increase the more it's shot in, as we said, brand new out the box. But overall, chrono-wise, again, it's not perhaps the cleanest group that we've seen, but you've got to give it the benefit of the doubt, and as we mentioned, she is fresh out the box and still a little bit stiff. So, we know what she's doing through the chrono. Now it's time for the fun part, and we're going to test for accuracy. So, I'm going to do some shooting off screen and see which pellets it likes the most, and once I find them, we'll do a few groups, or we'll do, say, a 6-7 shot group into a piece of target, and we'll see where it goes from there. We'll put it that way. Let's put the gun through its paces. So, that's enough of chronographing. We know what the gun's doing. Let's move on to accuracy testing. Okay then, so accuracy testing time. As you can see, we're going very old school this time around, and if you've done what I've just done here with our target, no, your eyes don't deceive you, that is in fact half of a cereal box. Like I said, we're going old school, come home from school, get the air rifle job kind of thing. It's the sort of rifle you would have, that sort of gun, to be honest with you. We could put the targets up and, you know, all that sort of thing, but this will suit the rifle so much more, in my opinion. There you go. I just found this as well. It's what I was zeroing with earlier. Like I said, even the zeroing, we're trying to keep it as authentic as possible. You can see it's a little bit like Swiss cheese at the minute. We put the Air Arms Diablo Fields in there, which I believe was, I think that was up here actually. You can see a bit of a string and spread going on, not particularly great. Down here, a bit better. These are the HN Field Target Trophy pellets, but I kid you not, you can see there's one little flyer going off, but you've got three really tightly clustered together there, and that, I kid you not, with the SMK Victory Shocks pellets. It really seems to like these for some reason. No idea why. They're not a bad pellet, to be fair. You know, we use these quite a lot as a wild card, but it seems to really do well with them. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a few shots into our high-tech card and see exactly what the rifle can do. We are at our 25-yard range. If I just pan across, that's where we're going to be sitting, just over there. You can see the bags there with our bits and bobs in them. We're also going to be doing it unrested. Again, frankly, because this sort of gun, like I said, it takes me back to when I was about, I don't know, I was about to say 12 years old, and we come out from school, lovely sunny day like this, the rare one that we get, and like my dad would be around there watching me and doing the barbecue at the same time. I'd come straight out, take the school clothes off, normal clothes on, straight out there with the air gun, and I'll be putting like a bit of cardboard like this, or a milk bottle, plastic milk carton. We had like a dry ditch, and we put that in there, and I'll be trying to pop the bottle cap off the milk carton. So it's very much a case of, do you know what, it's taking me back to my roots. We're going to do it unrested, and we're going to do it into a piece of cardboard, because it's my show and I'll do what I want. So let's see what we can do. 25 yards, let's put a few shots through here, pretty much as well. I'll count them, but we'll put a few through till basically I get a little bit bored with it, and then we'll move on. So accuracy test, Milbro Explorer 2.2 with Victory Shocks, 25 yards. Let's move on. Right then, accuracy test results. Now, you know that bit I said at the start where I said I'm not going to specify the amount of pellets that I'm going to put through this, but I'll be counting them. I may have lied to you. Yeah, I forgot how many pellets I've actually shot through there. You can see there's quite a sizable amount through the main cluster up the top, but we've got, I I think that's actually 2. I don't think that's 1. I think we've got 2 down here. We've got 1 here. 1 here didn't quite meet the target. So let's try and size these up if we can. This is a 20p piece. Let's see, can we get, it's a bit awkward doing this with the camera, but can we get the main cluster? The main cluster is in a 20p piece. Now, going by memory, I'd say, is there about, you guys will know better than me, I'm obviously, like I say, going off memory, but I'd say it's probably about 6-ish shots going through there. And we've got, like I said, we've got 2, I'd say, here, and 1 here, and 1 here. But considering that's 25 yards, and again, the gun's not even run in yet, like you saw through the chrono results, it's only been very roughly zeroed, and then chrono tested, and that's pretty much all the pellets that have been through it. In fact, the chrono test results, what we was doing then, those were the first ever pellets that we put through the gun. So the first shots were what you saw, essentially. So you can see it's not run in, but even so, I'll put that there. I mean, I do have a 5p piece, but I don't think you guys are going to let me get away with that somehow. Nah, not quite. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just poking out through the top left and the bottom right there, so she's not quite a 5p piece group. But the 20p was absolutely, I wonder if I can manoeuvre that just a little bit, was absolutely devoured by it. So yeah, well, it's just about, we'll say, it wasn't devoured by it, but it's about a 20p group with, and we've got the 4 flyers down there. So it's a pretty accurate gun, to be fair. And again, this was shot without my rest. Hang on, just have a pan around here just for proof. There's nothing there. You can look inside here. No rest, just scope caps, and you got some, I was going to use those targets, but I changed my mind at the last second, and some pellets and such in there. So no cheatery on the go this time. But yeah, you can see there, we basically, to test the gun, I put 1 shot, which I think might have been that one there actually, 1 shot into the card, and then essentially that was my aim point from then on. So it looks like the gun, as you can see, is slightly shooting high. But credit where it's due, the S&K Victory Shocks once again have done their business. Don't be wrong, they don't group in every single barrel. Some guns I put them through, they spit them absolutely all over the place. In fact, you might have seen the first, I think it's the first ever review we used these on, I think there was a little bit all over the place. But they do seem to weirdly work with some barrels, and for a budget tin to be capable of that and to actually outshoot the HNs and the air arms that we showed you a second ago, that's pretty damn good. They're well worth a try if you see some knocking around cheap. But that's, well, a 20p group here, not so much down here, but it's a 20p main group for a serious budget rifle. And I've actually got something else planned now. Let me give you a little a walk towards our target, and I'll show you what I mean. Right then, so going old school, and by that I mean what we're going to be doing now is what we used to do back when the channel was new. And what that is to prove a rifle's accuracy, we'd put some coins on top of a piece of wood like this, we'd dig it in. And what we're going to do this time instead is we're going to be using stones instead. And the reason behind that is that with coins, as a few of you guys mentioned, I think I mentioned it myself, you can get a near miss, and then you've got to rummage around in all this wood, which isn't easy, to find, say, a 20p piece, which is, as you know, it's about that big, and 5p pieces are even smaller. You've got to rummage around, try and find it, because then otherwise, if you can't, you never know if it's a hit or a miss. With a stone, what we're doing, no digging in at all, it's just going to sit straight on top of here. We're going to put 3 of them in a row, and if we hit the wood, we'll know we've missed, because hopefully all 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, will trundle down. And also I'll count my shots, and I mean it this time. I'll be counting my shots anyway. I'll give myself 3 shots for 3 stones. And the other thing is, a stone, obviously due to the weight, if it's a near miss, you're just going to see it go plop off the top, and that's about it. But if it's a hit, it's still going to jump. This gun might not be doing 11 foot-pounds at the moment, but when you get about 18 grains of lead coming its way at about 500 odd feet per second, so 520 FPS, whatever it was doing, or whatever it's doing now, because it's running in the more we shoot it, yeah, it's going to jump. So let's find 3 stones, and let's set the camera up, and let's see if the Explorer can ping off all 3. If I get 1 in the way that the gun's running in at the moment, I'll be very happy. But if we can get all 3, it shows what the gun can do, we'll put it that way. And I haven't even told you the cost of the thing yet. So let's see what we can do. 25 yards unrested, 3 stones. So then, it's time for our final verdict after our somewhat successful stoning session. I don't know if I feel dirty saying that or not. Stoning session. Stoner session. It's much cleaner. Right, well, we managed to get 2 out of 3 stones, and we've also managed to get quite a few shots in a 20p group from an unrested position. Now's when I'm going to tell you what the SRP is for this gun. SMK charge £109, or they recommend £109 for the rifle that you're seeing right in front of you now. Granted, it's not got a fancy walnut stock, but considering the performance that's on offer and just how sweet and just how adjustable that standard trigger is that comes with the thing, it's a hell of a bit of kit. It really is. And again, those stones, they're not that big, as you can see in the video. We managed to actually get, ironically enough, we managed to hit the hardest stone, which I think was about that. I was basically looking at something like that, and about that thick, from about 25 yards away, and again unrested. You really can't complain about that. The only potential niggles with the gun, and again I know I'm getting into the negatives a bit too early compared to most of our reviews, are it is a bit long. Now, what I was saying earlier about the butt pad hanging out of the rifle, bear in mind the silencer here is actually sticking out. Hang on, let me see if I can level that out and I'll show you the problem. So if I can just get that level like that, so that's pretty much as far as you'd ever get it in there. And on this side you see the problem. It's a long gun. You need a special case for this. This standard sort of generic case, what we got here, as nice as it is, isn't enough to get the gun seated in, shall we say. The other thing is the weight. There is definitely some weight there. It's not as heavy as the numbers will make you think. And she is a well-balanced brute as well. Like I said, the weight is pretty much, if you give one a shoulder, put your hand or your palm just under the first part of the checkering here on the forestock, and you see it balances in your palm really nicely, and it's more or less centre. Personally, as I said, I prefer weight a little bit further forwards on my spring guns. It helps control muzzle flip a little bit. When it comes to recoil and the handling characteristics of the rifle, there is a bit of recoil there, and the lock time to me doesn't feel that massively fast. The recoil is mainly vertical though, and which to me seems to be, it's the easiest to get along with. As I said, horizontal recoil for me at least, where it's sort of the gun twists right to left and such, doesn't really do it for me. But in that regard, this gun does behave itself quite well. The trigger is also pretty damn superb, I've got to be honest. There's the way that you can adjust this thing. Don't get me wrong, it's not a record trigger unit. If you're expecting that, obviously you're going to want maybe £100 or more on top of the budget for a second-hand record unit attached to a rifle, but it is bloody good for a gun at this price point. It's the trigger, and like I've already said, the sheer amount of adjustability options you've got with this is nice. It is nice. The trigger's a very smooth criminal. Again, a little bit of creep when you get to that second stage. It definitely, there's a bit of creep in there before the gun lets go, but this is in its complete stock configuration. Maybe with a bit of tweaking and such, you could completely smoothen that out of the gun, and the gun will be much more pleasant to shoot. That also goes for the accuracy as well. Bear in mind, I know we've already said it, but the shots that you saw through the chronograph, what we've got down here, the results, the shots that we put through here were the first shots the gun had ever fired out of the box. So it's literally pretty much, it's probably the newest gun we've reviewed, I'll put it that way, because when we had the scope on there, the handling section, it wasn't even zeroed at that point. But accuracy wise, as we said, it's pretty good. You've got most of the group here under a 20p piece, and there's a little bit showing up there. Let me just see if I can rejig that like we did earlier. You've got most of it under a 20p piece with, I think that's probably 4 flyers poking out the bottom there. And it's also got a taste for cheap pellets, which is always handy. Granted, in this test I didn't actually have any JSPS to try, but we had the next best thing. We had the Air Arms Diablo Fields, and they, as I think I showed you, I think I've lost that piece of cereal box now, high-tech cereal box. It didn't really get along with them, so my hopes for the JSPs are also quite low. Maybe some RSs might be a better choice for this sort of gun. But handling wise, again, as we were saying, it comes to the shoulder nicely, a little bit of weight granted, and the reach to the trigger is also quite long. I mean, my pretty damn long finger there, well, I would have liked it back a bit. A setback trigger on here, if you can get one, would be absolutely beautiful. It's fairly powerful. The gun's running up now. We just have a flick through, you can see it's fresh out the box. We had 10.39 down there. We had a high of 10.43. Let's put it closer so you can actually see that. 10.43, and you can see that we had some low shots coming through, but even the lows are beginning to creep up to the high shots, so she's definitely got a long way to go before she's run in. Now this is the bit where I'm going to sound traitorous, because you know I mocked it to begin with, but this is actually really growing on me. It is plastic, but again, what do you expect for the price? As I said, maybe a little thin metal barrel weight on there would have been nice, but again, this is growing on me. I mean, when you actually look at it, get the full silhouette of the rifle there, I think in this rare instance it actually adds to the appeal of the gun. It's not the most elegant gun on the planet, it's not the most streamlined gun on the planet, but it's got that sort of menacing appeal to it. I know that's a really strange thing to say for an air rifle, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I said the same thing about my 97. It's not pretty. I mean, you get a wooden stock 97, it's technically a much prettier gun than my one, but my one's sinister, and it's the one the Terminator would choose, and that in my opinion is the thing that places it way higher than the standard one. I'm sorry people out there that might be watching this with wooden stock 97s, but it's true. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. But in general, I think it's a lovely bit of kit. I really do. Again, for 109 quid, and if you look elsewhere, you will find it cheaper. Wink, wink, cough, cough. But if you look elsewhere, again, you can find these for £100, sub £100, and it's so much kit for the money. Even the sights, fibre optic sights. Let me see, are they glowing up slightly now? They might not be because, again, I'm in the way ever so slightly, but you can see it on there, the orange fibre optic sight glowing up a bit. It's a hell of a lot of gun for the money, it really is. And I think this could be one of the first instances where a reviewer, if you can call me that, but a reviewer says value for money and genuinely mean it, just for what is actually available with this gun. It's cheaper than an XS19, for crying out loud. And it will be, when it's running, a full power rifle. Don't worry about that. Again, she's already doing about 10.4 foot-pounds now, so it will be a full power gun. But anyways, I think that's it for the Milbro Explorer. We've given it a bloody good look, and it was a nice addition to our budget rifle series. I don't know what we're going to be looking at next. Don't worry, we do have, you know you are, we do have the S200 is definitely very soon hopefully going to be coming up. Just got to find one fairly localish, as we don't stock air arms at the moment, so I'm going to have to pounce, and I'll probably get one in a standard condition, but potentially second hand or new if I find one pop up local enough, and put it through its paces. But no, thanks ever so much for watching. If you know anybody around you that gets a Milbro Explorer and you're thinking about a budget gun, and one that definitely does what it says on the tin, definitely give this a shoulder first and see what you think. As we said already, it is probably one of the only guns off the top of my head that are genuine value for money. The others being, if I had to run them off, I'd say XS19, and it's more money, but probably HW99S as well. They're also a hell of a lot of kit for the money, but then even they are double the price of this. So yeah, rambling again now. We do that at the end of the videos, don't we? We've got to stop. But thanks ever so much for watching. If you'd like to try a Milbro Explorer before you buy, get in touch with us at bigdansairguns.co.uk, and we're also willing to RFD transfer these rifles to pretty much anywhere in the country if interested. But if you ever have any other questions, or you have any suggestions for rifles you want us to review, leave a comment down below and we'll see if we can get it added to the list and get it looked at ASAP for you. So thanks ever so much for watching, and as always people, take care.